One dark and dreary night.
You're listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, where HIPAA and humor collide to make learning fun. Your delightful hosts are Donna Grindle and David Sims. Relax, HIPAA help is on the way.
Welcome to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, the show that will transform how you learn HIPAA. This podcast is a collaborative project from Cardin Compliance and HIPAA for MSPs. My name is David Sims from HIPAA for MSPs, and joining me, as always, is my co-host Donna Grindle of Cardin Compliance. How are you today, Donna?
I'm great, David. You did a good job on that new.
You like that? Yeah. I know. Trying to standardize the opening so I'm not ad-libbing it every single time.
Yeah, well, you know.
I think it probably comes born out of the fact that you're scared of what I'm always going to say. So,
yeah, I'm always trying to figure out how I'm supposed to respond. You know, what you're going to call me.
Yeah, who knows?
When you're going to call me.
I can't call you what I want to call you. I'm trying to keep it nice and polite. Yeah. So today's episode, pretty excited about it. What about you?
I am really just tickle pink.
And today's episode, we are going to talk about some scary things about HIPAA. And so, in preparation for that, go ahead and turn your lights down low and
get your flashlight on the face.
Get your flashlights and
put
shine
your flashlight
them up on
your face. Mobile device.
There you go. Do that. If you really want to be scary, then do all that while you're driving.
Or go outside, build a campfire, and play us right there next to you. Ooh, scary campfire stories.
So, scary story number one. And let me preface this by saying all of the stories that we tell today are true.
Yeah, they are. We've gathered these from a variety of places, whether it's articles online or stories in our professional discussions forums, which then get really good, or things that may have happened or may not have happened directly to us.
Mm-hmm. But we have changed the names of the guilty to protect them.
Okay.
So our first story is talking about an IT company, which, you know, kind of close and near dear to my heart, considering I have an IT company. So what was so scary, Donna, about what this IT company did?
Well, one dark and dreary night, a practice, an unnamed practice, covered entity, gets a call because they have found that the IT company realizes while they backed up their servers and their equipment, so it's a small practice, like 8 people in a server, but they had 8,000 patients spanning 8 years on a server, and the IT company backed it up, as they are known to do, because they're going to ship it to a backup vendor to put it in the cloud, more than likely. We'll have to guess that. But they didn't encrypt the drive that they put it on, the portable drive. And then they lost it. They lost the whole
Insert
thing.
scream here. Ah! Wow. So they lost it.
They lost it with everything on it, unencrypted. They don't know where it is. And at this point, now the doctor's office, who, you know, they're nice people. And most times, you know, they're just nice people trying to take care of people. However, they then go and realize, well, this IT company, they never got assigned BAA on them. And they never really asked them a lot of questions. And now they have learned, they have determined that security was really not a top priority for this IT company. They just kind of assumed it would always go well. And we know
I would assume that because I know the IT market well, that this IT vendor probably said, we have a HIPAA compliant backup solution because the backup vendor was probably HIPAA compliant. And they assumed that they could use that backup vendor and that would magically make them compliant.
So the IT company screws up. And in a lot of ways, it's just a matter of time before the FTC takes somebody that says they're HIPAA compliant that does something this careless and says that's fraud, false advertising. That makes it even more scary. But what's terrifying for the doctor's office is to realize that their compliance is so far from prepared properly that they more than likely could fall under willful neglect. And that's absolutely terrifying. And in the article that we were pulling this information from, it was an article on LinkedIn, and the tech company that was writing the article said that they actually had, the doctor said, "I'm terrified. Am I going to jail for this?" And something to that effect. And you can see how scary it is in the heat of the moment. Now, had somebody like you or I been talking to them and trying to tell them how they needed to do more of this HIPAA compliance stuff, had they been doing any of this properly, and the IT company had sworn to them that they were doing what they're supposed to do, and this happened, then the IT company would be the only one liable. But because the doctor hadn't done any of those things, the doctor's liable and the IT company. So, it does matter. And it's not you and your screw-ups that necessarily always cause you a problem. So, terrifying for the doctor. And no, this one's fairly new. It hasn't worked its way through, but I'm sure at some point we'll hear about it.
This is going to be one of those ones that I think will start to get the attention of the IT community more so.
Oh, one would hope so.
So
that brings us to
our next Halloween episode, Scary Story. This one. This one is about passwords on a laptop.
Yeah, so we're going to, what is it? Flip it and reverse it.
I've seen that on the dance floor a few times.
Ode to Missy Elliott. So in this case, though, we talk often about laptops not being encrypted and using proper passwords and complex passwords, and that's all great. And if you have an IT company like this particular doctor does, who's on top of things and making sure that you have complex passwords, and they're trying to work with the client and encrypt things, and they're staying on top of it. But then what happened to this IT company, David?
Well, in this particular instance, the doctor and the IT company worked together to have some really good, strong passwords for pretty much everything that the doctor accessed. They're very good passwords. The laptop was encrypted like it was supposed to be and had a very strong, 20 or 25 character password. I mean, just probably overkill to a degree, but I don't know that you can actually have overkill when you start talking about encrypted passwords. So all this was going very well. Their setup was good.
IT company's feeling good.
Everything's good,
tall.
Right? I mean, you got your client using the proper passwords. They're strong passwords. Every password is different, so they're not using the same passwords for things. But then one day, the IT company has to pay a visit to the covered entity, and they're having problems with a laptop being able to log on. So not a big technical issue necessarily. So
just come pick up the laptop, figure out what's going on.
And let's figure out what's going on.
Happens all the time.
So one of the technicians goes and grabs a laptop, brings it back to the office, in which they then proceed to go to the owner of the IT company and say, "Is this a problem?" And they open the laptop lid.
Dun, dun, dun.
And there are 18 different passwords and usernames tied to the websites and everything that they go to, including the encryption key to the laptop.
And where are
they? They
these?
are taped to the laptop. So as you open the lid up, where the keyboard is, right below the keyboard, there are taped Post-it notes and 3x5 index cards and whatever else they could cut up and write on, all the way across the bottom of the laptop. So it says things like Blue Cross Blue Shield, username and password, encryption key password, Windows password. It goes on and on and on. So all the work that they put into securing everything was all for nothing, because if they lose that password, that laptop, or if it's stolen, they can't claim the safe harbor exemption, because the encryption key is right there for somebody to enter in and get in. And then once they're in there, they can get at anything, because the passwords and usernames for everything this doctor uses is right there on the laptop. How convenient.
I don't know about you, but if I was the owner of that IT company, I think that things would have come out of a lot of parts of me.
Yeah, I can imagine it was a scary moment for the IT company. And
so, do you know if they tried to get them to use password management tools? I mean, we try, and a lot of times they won't do it.
Well, we mentioned this a lot, and I will mention it again, because sometimes, not every listener is listening to every episode. There's usually a gap between something being convenient and something being secure. As a matter of fact, if you had like the little tipping scales, the more secure things are, the less convenient. The less convenience, the more security. So it kind of goes up and down. But when you're dealing with this type of privacy and security issue, you really have to understand that convenience is not what we're shooting for.
Right. Well, you know what I say, my new thing that I tell them is, look, every time you feel like security isn't convenient, tell me where your house keys are. Tell me where your car keys are. Because either you accept that inconvenience because you want to protect those things, and you don't complain that you have to carry your house keys. You don't complain that you have to carry your car keys, or at least I've never heard anybody complain, oh my goodness, I have to carry my keys now. I've heard them complain that they have to keep up with so many keys, but that just means they're willing to lock up all kinds of other things.
And for most people, the amount that it would cost them on a breach is probably far above what they paid for their house and car.
Yeah, I know. When you look at these, $1 million settlements, even $100,000 settlement, and that's nowhere near the total cost. That's just the settlement with OCR.
And the other scary thing about this story too is that this is the doctor. So this is a top-down problem. I can't imagine what the employees are doing or not doing, because as you well know, they look toward the higher ups for guidance. And, sometimes they're going to do the right thing regardless, but other times they say, hey, if Dr. So-and-so is not doing it, or Dr. So-and-so is doing it, then that's what needs to be done. Right. So they kind of look for, to them for guidance.
Well, that's like our episode where we talked about building a culture of compliance, is that it is the top down. Because, I always say you always have a mentor, and I was fortunate to have a couple of really solid mentors in my life. And one of them told me that I needed to understand when I went into management that whatever you do, your employees are going to do a little bit less than that. Because if they're going to do equal to you or more than you, then they're going to have your job. I thought it was a great way of looking at it. So, if somebody's willing to do that, you think, great, you're going to have my job. But it's not a bad thing, but know that whatever you're doing, they're going to do less. So the doctor, he's making it clear. Now, you always have, you're going to have the employees that understand security, and they're going to be paranoid, and they're like, I can't believe he's doing it. We're going to be in so much trouble. I'm like, no. And I do see that, but it's terrifying. The IT people are terrified. That's our point. It's scary to those who get it.
And you brought up a good point too, that before we actually started recording, when we were talking about some of these things beforehand, where you said that the IT companies now, since the omnibus rule in 2013, are taking on the liability that they didn't have to before. And so it's getting to the point where IT companies are having to go to these covered entities and their clients and say, look, you don't realize maybe that your lack of attention to security and privacy is now going to affect me and my business. And if you're not going to take these things seriously and let's work together to protect this patient information that we're legally supposed to be doing, if you can't do this, then I've got to fire you as a client. I can't take the risk that you are putting on me because you don't care.
It's creating that horrible catch-22 of what do you do? And there's frequent conversations in some of the forums that I'm on about, with these liabilities that are in place, what are you supposed to do? Do you report somebody? When IT people, we know how bad they are. We know your secrets. And, what is our liability? And everybody has to worry about that in today's world. So it is a problem, and it's something that creates a very stressful feeling for those of us who are in that position. And I go in and discuss, I don't want to have to fire you, client, but you're making me nervous about what you're doing. And that's kind of discussion.
So in our first story, the doctor's office should have put a little more heat on the IT company. In this story, the IT company needs to put more heat on the doctor's office, which brings us to our third scary story.
Yeah, this one.
Gosh, this is one where
this one drives me crazy.
Yeah, this is one of those cases.
And it's for true. It's for true.
This is one of those cases where, you know what? Everybody's probably had this happen to them, but where somebody they believe that they are so important that you can't tell them no, even if it comes to the point of violating the law.
Yes.
So tell us about that.
So there's a collection agency representative. They get a call from a client, and it's the doctor calling from the doctor's office. It's not the staff who normally calls the rep. And they say, the doctor says, I've got this account number for this patient. I want you to look up the information, tell me some information about it. And the rep's like, oh, no big deal. And then they take down the information. They realize the doctor's asking for information on a patient at another practice. They want information that another practice has turned over to collections about an account, not their own information. Well, so that, we're going to put the kibosh on that. And the rep says, I can't do that. There needs to be some sort of authorization from the covered entity or the patient themselves. And you get it to me any way you need to, but I can't give you this without some sort of authorization from somebody else. It's not allowed. And the doctor, of course, goes ballistic.
Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
There you go. They just go nuts and say, I need this and I'm important and I want this, and just demanding it. And good thing for the rep. The rep, stuck to their guns, and they didn't give in because it's the law, and I'm protecting that individual, and I don't know why you want this. I don't know if you're supposed to have it, and it's none of my business. As long as I have an authorization, great, we'll go on with it. However, without that, I can't do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. It's my job to say no.
That's like just this morning. A copier company calls me and says, I need the admin information for XYZ medical client of yours so I can install their software for their copier. To which I answered, no.
It's my job to say no.
Let me talk to the client, and then we'll move from there. But no, you will not get that information.
We will facilitate what you need done, but we're not going to do that by giving you complete control. No. And that's the thing that other people do, is like they see no as, I'm just trying to get in your way. And that's what this doctor did. They said, oh, you're just trying to get in my way. You're just a little person. Let me step on you and move up the chain.
And what happened when they moved up the chain?
And they call the VP of the collection agency and go ballistic on the VP. And you know what the VP does? They gave the doctor the information the doctor wanted. Yeah.
So
now
here
what
we go
do you do?
again. We're having a top-down problem.
Yeah, and so, and this is another scenario that we don't know yet what, and we may not know a lot of the details, but here you've now got a lot of people in a bad position. You got a lot of people involved in a very scary thing. The patient, what if we don't know why this doctor wanted the information? And we talked in other episodes about, the doctors are just as scary as anybody else of why they're after information. The one who wanted to know if his mistress had a STD. So with the information, you don't know what they're after or what they're up to. So that's scary. You got the rep who did the right thing, even after getting yelled at, which you and I both know is not a fun day at work. And then have their VP override them and do something illegal that they know is illegal because they were following what they're taught to do. And then you've got the VP who is totally uneducated, and somewhere in that mix, the collection agency, probably they have someone in charge of managing compliance, or the rep wouldn't have done so well.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So you've got a privacy officer, security officer, whatever, a compliance officer that has, their life is not good.
Yeah.
Because the rep's going to tell them what happened because the rep is obligated and doing what they're obligated to do. And clearly, it's out there or I wouldn't know about it. So, and no, this isn't anybody. I mean, this is one of those things that we read about. So I don't know what's going to come of this, but I can tell you that, everybody involved has a major problem on their hands. It's terrifying to see what's going to happen here. And you can imagine whoever the CEO is. Now, that's the one I would really like to know. What is
your sanction policy against your VP for doing this?
It's probably VP of sales too.
Yeah.
They told me they were going to refer 4 other clients, and if I didn't do this, they weren't going to refer them.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, we hear that all the time, don't we? Give me a discount. I'll refer a ton of people.
So our last 2 scary stories involve something that I find quite frightening, which is Facebook.
Yeah.
When I go into a covered entity's office and they are telling me they're posting things to Facebook, it just immediately I cringe. For a number of reasons.
Yeah. So I know that we work with like OBGYNs, and with that, the people have their babies and they want to post a picture of their baby because they're posting it on the patient. The patient's posting it on their Facebook page, and they want to put information on the OB's Facebook page. And they're paranoid, because they work with me. I made them really good and paranoid. So we've gone through this whole big thing about what pictures, if the people want them to post the pictures and share them and all this kind of stuff. So they have a very detailed Facebook policy, and everyone should.
Yeah. I mean, social media for marketing is awesome. And I believe that every doctor's office, I believe they should be taking advantage of that because it's very inexpensive marketing and it's very effective marketing. However, having said that, it's also very dangerous if you don't have the policies in place and the procedures in place
and the training
and everything that goes into that. And matter of fact, in a future episode, we are going to have a social media expert on that we're going to talk about specifically these types of issues. But for today, let's talk about what an employee did on Facebook that was so just terrible.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you, I'm going to talk about the second one first because the first, we've got them in order here. So the first one I'm going to talk about is a woman's medical record is posted to a Facebook group, and the Facebook group is Team No Hose. So right there. And it included all of her information, including the fact that she had syphilis. Yes. And of course, then she got to file a lawsuit against the medical center. And in the lawsuit, it mentions that one of the employees involved was the woman's ex-boyfriend. Where do you think she got it? Either she was fooling around on him and got it, or he gave it to her. Either way, you know what I'm saying. But still, come on. Why would you even do this? Post a person's entire medical record information, including an STD diagnosis on
It's
Facebook.
called revenge.
Yeah, it's really that kind of thing. But if you work at the medical center, shut up.
Mm-hmm.
Which then takes us to the second one that's terrifying. And this one is absolutely scary in a way that
The response to it is what makes it scary.
Yeah, that's it. So this is another employee at a medical center posted a photo of a patient's medical record and all the identifying information and added underneath it a comment that said, "Funny, but this patient came in to cure her VD and get birth control." Okay, so we've talked before about you just don't talk about with anyone who you see at work if you are treating patients. Or if you're an IT person that is working in an office where you see a patient, shut up. You just don't talk about it. But where it got really bad is where underneath that, people posted, "Hey, you're violating this employee's privacy. This is, HIPAA violation." People went off. And the idiot that posted it said, "People, it's just Facebook, not reality."
So you can't have a HIPAA violation on Facebook because it's not reality.
Not reality. So those of you that are privacy officers and have employees like that, we feel bad for you.
And so does your puppy. You scared the dog. You scared the dog with that one.
So that's the end of our scary campfire stories.
Our Halloween episode.
Our Halloween episode. Are you dressing up for Halloween, David?
I don't really have to do too much. I'm pretty scary as I am. So
yeah,
I know you were heading that way, so I went ahead and just done it for you.
Just smiling.
So no, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing.
I'm probably, I had a friend of mine that one day we were going to a Halloween party and we hadn't bothered to dress up because I'm not really, into that too often. And we looked at each other and said, "Wait, the way you're dressed, we'll say that you're so-and-so and I'm so-and-so. We'll just do it based on how we're dressed right now." And I don't remember what we made up, but we went in the door and everybody's dressed up and they're like, "What are you?" And we're like, "I'm Glenn Campbell." It was some big obscure thing. And people are just like, "Are you serious?" "Yep. Yeah, I am." So there you go.
Oh boy. Very good. Well, that's our show for today, and we thank you for listening. But do us a favor, help us out and help others out just like you by giving us a review on iTunes and sharing this episode on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, or your favorite social media platform. You can also visit us on the web at www.helpmewithhipaa.com. If you have a question that you would like for us to answer, you can connect with us right there on the homepage. We might even feature your question in a future podcast episode. So from both of us here at Help Me with HIPAA, remember, HIPAA is not about compliance. It's about patient care.
Happy Halloween.
Dun, dun, dun.
You've been listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, hosted by Donna Grindle and David Sims. The show created to help you with HIPAA. For more information or to ask us a question, visit our website at helpmewithhipaa.com. Neither Donna Grindle or David Sims are attorneys, and they do not offer binding legal advice concerning regulatory compliance. The information in this podcast should not be relied upon or construed as legal advice in any way. Consult your attorney for legal advice concerning compliance with HIPAA regulations.